How's it going, y'all? Today I'm going to be drinking Absolut vodka for the first time. Absolut is a Swedish brand of vodka, and one that has been around for a very long time, but one that has, in recent years, grown quite a lot, becoming one of the larger brands of vodka within the United States and in some other countries around the world as well. That's mainly due to the packaging, the branding, and the massive lineup of flavored varieties that this brand has, if you ask me at least. And overall, I am very excited to give Absolut vodka a go for the first time today, to find out just how it is, what it's like, what I think of it, and to find out whether it's actually worth the price or not. Now, it is worth mentioning that I have tried an Absolut vodka mixed drink before, so technically speaking, this is not going to be my absolute first time drinking Absolut vodka. However, I have never drank Absolut vodka straight before, and that's what we're going to be doing today. But it's not just going to be my first time drinking Absolut vodka straight. This is actually going to be my first time drinking Swedish liquor straight in general as well. Overall, I'm looking forward to this experience. But how much did I pay for this bottle right here? Well, this is a bottle of the normal, original, unflavored Absolut vodka, and I bought it at my local liquor store for $19.95 USD. For that price, I got 750 milliliters of Swedish-made vodka with an ABV of 40%, a proof of 80, and one that was made with winter wheat, but is nonetheless considered to be gluten-free. How will it be? What will it be like? Man, oh man, I'm looking forward to finding out. Without further ado, after I thank the sponsor of today's video, let's go ahead and cover the look of the bottle. Then let's go ahead and get the cork all out, go ahead and smell Absolut vodka for the very first time and see just what the scent of it is actually like. And then after that, let's go ahead and pour some of this in a glass I have with me today, and let's go over just what it actually tastes like, what it actually burns like, and just how it is to drink straight in general. And once I've had my fill of vodka that I want to drink straight, I'm then going to mix some Sprite with this vodka right here and see how it is as a mixer as well. And once I'm done drinking as a whole, once I've had my fill of alcohol and gotten a little bit of a buzz, I will then give you guys my final thoughts on this vodka, give it a rating, and let you guys know whether I think it's worth purchasing or not. But first off, as said, before any of that, I need to thank the sponsor of today's video, which just so happens to be me. That's right, I am the sponsor of this video today, as my poetry book, Poems to Read While Smoking Cigarettes, is out and available now. The poems within this book, they're not good poems, but they are good poems to read while smoking cigarettes. And if you guys would like a book of poems to read while smoking cigarettes, well, look no further, as this is the book for you. Make sure to check out my new poetry book, Poems to Read While Smoking Cigarettes, available now on Amazon for $14.99. You can find the links to it in the description and comments down below. Make sure to check it out if y'all are interested. Now, with the sponsored segment of this video all done, without further ado, let's go ahead and go over the look of the Absolut vodka bottle itself. Starting off with the general shape of it. We can see it starts off with a thick yet thin compared to the rest of the bottle neck. The cork itself is indeed a cork, not a cap. I think, at least, no, this is a cap, not a cork. Otherwise, I would see a cork piece coming down into the bottle itself. I should have checked on that before the video, but I didn't. Hey, it is what it is, you know, learn something new every day. I thought this was a cork, but it's not. It's a lid. I've learned something new today, and maybe y'all have as well. But we can see that this lid right here is a little bit thicker when compared to the neck of the bottle right here, and that's because the neck of the bottle just gets a little bit thicker right at the very end, and that, I imagine at least, is so when you're pouring your vodka into your glass, it doesn't just kind of just fall off and you spill vodka everywhere. That's a nice feature of the bottle that I do much appreciate, I will admit. We can see below the neck just gets a little bit thicker, and then it goes to more of a barrel shape with a flat bottom, and there's a little bit of a flat area right here as well on the very front. Let's go ahead and now start going over the details. So we can see the lid itself is that of a silver lid, not a gray lid. It's a silver lid due to the fact that it is indeed a little bit shiny, I would say. And on that silver lid, there is a little bit of a plastic security wrap that is clear with a little bit of a pull tab right here. On that pull tab, we get some arrows, and it also says Absolut just right there, twice, I want to say. And on the rest of the plastic wrap, it just says Absolut in cursive over and over and over again. And that's all in silver once again. And that's really all that's going on up here. Moving on from the top of the bottle to this area right here, we can see that flat portion has a little bit of a sticker on it, and we can see that it just has a guy on the front right there. It just says Absolut since 1879, and that is the year that Absolut was first instituted as a brand of vodka, from what I know at least. And we can see that the founder of Absolut as a brand is just right there as well. Just says L.O. Smith right there, and I do believe that that is the founder. And, well, overall, well, he's made a pretty iconic brand of vodka without a doubt. That's the guy that founded the brand of vodka, and makes sense why they would want to put that on the front of the bottle, because, well, after all, they've got to talk about their history. They've got to make Absolut into a historic product, and they're very much doing that with this little acknowledgement and little history piece right there. They're really trying to sell you on this vodka and on the history of it with this right there, I think is really the right way of putting it. We can see below that we go to some text down here, and we can see that the general design of all of the text down here is that of a not minimalist look per se, because there is a lot going on, but it's of a clear look. And I think it's of a clear look because they want to really emphasize the actual vodka-ness of this vodka itself. They don't want to emphasize the logo on the front of the bottle. They want to emphasize what's in the bottle. And so as such, the logo on the front of the bottle and all of the details on the front of this bottle basically are completely clear and just let you see the vodka right through them, which is, in my opinion, a really interesting sort of branding idea, if you ask me at least. And we can see that the look of the vodka itself and the label as a whole is emphasized just a little bit more so than not, because there is a white background on the other side of this bottle. We can see on this side we get what looks like a white paint strip. And that does, in my opinion, a very good job of emphasizing the blue Absolut vodka text right here and all of the silver text and even this label down here and whatnot. Overall, definitely some interesting, I would have to say, bottle design decisions going on. They're really trying to let the vodka speak for itself, even though it's just a clear liquor, which in my opinion is pretty interesting. And it's a design that, if you ask me, looks a lot more modern than not. But it is something that I do have an appreciation for, even if it isn't my exact thing, as I am personally a fan of more classically styled bottles, I will acknowledge. Nonetheless, Absolut vodka and this specific look of Absolut vodka is absolutely very iconic, and I see why they've stuck with it over the years. Of course, it works to the fullest extent, I imagine, at least. Excuse me, just had a little bit of a burp. Haven't had any alcohol yet today, but burping nonetheless. Maybe that's my body telling me I need some alcohol, not exactly sure. But we can see the Absolut vodka, just logo, label, design, just right here. The Absolut vodka text is all in caps, and it is very bold, very recognizable from a distance, and just this bottle as a whole is just very recognizable on the shelf, very recognizable from a distance, which is something that I do much appreciate, I will admit. But, you know, just says Absolut vodka right there, very bold blue text, no sort of color change, no sort of background or any sort of like drop shadow or anything like that kind of thing that would kind of take away from what they're doing with the sort of clear look to the bottle, in my personal opinion. So it makes sense why they just left it as a standard, just bold blue text, and I think that works very well for what they're trying to do. Below the Absolut vodka text right here, there is a much less bold and harder to see text right below it. That is all in cursive and is all in white. And it just says, "This superb vodka is crafted to perfection, Absolut, since 1879. So with that text, they're really trying to sell you on this being a really good vodka. And they're also trying to sell you on the history of the brand, once again, just like they were doing up here. And that's what this text actually says, just right there. It's all in cursive, so it might be a bit hard to read on camera or on video, but there we go. I read it out loud, and below all of this text, there is a little bit of a label right there as well. That label is just on a white background, and I have some gnats flying around me real quick. I don't know why there's gnats flying around me all of a sudden. If I had to hazard a guess, it's probably because of the breeze that was coming around at the very beginning of the video has kind of slowed down just a little bit, but we are gonna keep going. The gnats, they're not gonna distract me from drinking my alcohol. Ain't no gnats are gonna stop me from enjoying my alcohol, and I'm gonna enjoy my alcohol to the fullest extent. But on this white label, we do have some text and some other details. We can see some wheat stalks just over here in sort of a grayed out, sort of whitish gray sort of design. And at the very top, it just says, made with Swedish water and winter wheat. And then under that, it just says gluten-free right there in very bold text. And then under that, we just get a signature right there. Just says maybe L.O. Smith. Maybe that's the signature of the guy who founded this company. Just says L.O. Smith Heritage, 40% alcohol by volume. And then we just get some Swedish text right there, some numbers in blue right there. And then under that, it just says produced and bottled in the village of Aarhus, Sweden. I think I'm butchering the pronunciation for that village in Sweden. I will acknowledge I do not speak Swedish by any means, but we'll stick with that pronunciation nonetheless, and that's really all it says on the label. And moving on below that, we can see there's actually some text on the bottle itself, and it just reads country of Sweden, just right there. Not originated in Sweden or Swedish liquor of origin, just says country of Sweden right there on the glass itself, actually embossed on the glass itself. And yeah, that's pretty much all there is to the front of, well, the Absolut vodka bottle. Overall, detail-wise, there's nothing too much going on. It's a more simplistic look than not, but there is, I will admit, more than there might seem to be when you just glance at this bottle. There's more than meets the eye, I think is really the right way of putting it. And yeah, that's all that's going on with the front of this bottle. Let's go and take a look at the paint strip once again, because we can see a little detail right here. There's a little sort of building right there. Maybe that's their distillery, because it says the Aarhus Distillery right there, the name of the distillery that makes this vodka, I imagine at least. And that's on the back of what looks like this paint strip right here, which is printed onto the bottle itself rather than being a sticker from what I could tell. And we can also see a sticker right here with all of the details and barcode and safety stuff for the United States market and whatnot. We can see the barcode. We can see that you can get money back for the bottle. Just says must be 21 plus to purchase. We get the government warning label just saying that you shouldn't drive when you're drinking and that women should not drink alcohol if pregnant. And then it just says Absolut vodka, produced in Sweden, 750 milliliters, distilled from grain, imported by Absolut Spirits Co., New York, New York. And then we get some other information and whatnot kind of thing. Pretty much just an informational sort of sticker right here, I will acknowledge. Nothing too crazy going on. And taking a look at the bottom, we can see we get a ridged bottom for grip right there. We get a little bit of a divot right here, which I honestly quite like, because it means that maybe if you have this on a surface and it's the bottle, you had it in the freezer and it's condensating everywhere, the condensation on the bottom might actually kind of go out of the bottle, or at least there's some airflow in to kind of get rid of that condensation that it might cause a like circle on a table or something like that kind of thing. I'm not exactly sure why they made this choice to have a little divot right there, but maybe that's why they chose to have that divot. I'm not exactly sure. I don't know the reasoning behind that. I don't know about the thermodynamics of glass production and whatnot. That's not my expertise, I will acknowledge. So maybe there is some sort of functional design to that that I just don't know about. And there's also a couple dots on the bottom right there as well. And yeah, that's really all there is to the general look of Absolut vodka. Before I go ahead and get this bottle of Absolut vodka all opened up, I think I want to go ahead and grab myself just a little bit of a thumbnail real quick. And then after that, I'm going to go ahead and get this plastic wrap all off. And I'm going to go ahead and smell Absolut vodka for the very first time. So let's go ahead and grab myself a thumbnail real quick. Well, hopefully one of those will do as a thumbnail for the video. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get this plastic wrap all off of the lid, which I think I might want to use my knife for, as my fingernails are not really the largest or longest. So let's use my knife to kind of get this plastic wrap up just a little bit. And my backpack is open, so I'm gonna go ahead and start putting the plastic pieces that are kind of falling off in there. Don't want to be littering, of course. And let's go ahead and get this all off if I possibly can. Can I get this all off? My hands are a little bit slippery because this bottle does have a little bit of condensation on it, but there we go. The perforation on the wrap, the pull tab worked just fine. Absolutely no complaints on my behalf about that. And let's go ahead and put all this garbage in my backpack. No litter here, of course. And let's go and put my knife back, and let's go ahead and get this lid all off. And the lid overall feels like plastic, but it has a slight metallicness to it. I don't know, kind of interesting. Well, let's go ahead and get it off, and let's go ahead and smell Absolut vodka for the very first time. Let's see just what this stuff smells like. And maybe this is metal. I'm not sure. Well, I could definitely say it smells like vodka. I mean, like, that's just with certainty, without a question in my mind, this smells like vodka. It's definitely not as intense of a smell, in my opinion, as something like, let's say, Tito's, for sure. And I've definitely smelled more intense smelling vodka than this. I would have to say this is more on the same level as something like, let's say, the Haku vodka from Japan. But a little bit stronger smelling, in my personal opinion, and a little bit more medicine smelling as well, if you ask me. But overall, it definitely does not smell as much like medicine as Tito's does, which is always a benefit because I despise Tito's vodka. If this stuff is just remotely better than Tito's, it's already a winner in my book, let me just tell y'all what. But overall, I would have to say, I mean, like, the smell I got at the very beginning kind of thing when I first opened it up was a sort of intense, I would have to say, almost like great medicine smell with a little bit of alcohol as well kind of in there. But now that the cap has been off for a moment, it's really milded out to a huge degree, I will acknowledge. Like, Tito's just stays smelling like medicine. This, on the other hand, you get the cap off, smells like that initially, and then it kind of milds out, and that's exactly what's happened. And I would say the smell overall is just super mild. There's really just not much going on with the smell at all. Impressively little going on with the smell, I will acknowledge. I would have to say there's not even really any alcohol burn on my nose at all. I mean, like, this is just really smooth on the nose, like, scary smooth kind of thing. Like, is this actually alcohol? Like, I know it is, but I'm not getting any sort of that alcohol smell at all. None of that alcohol pungency burning the inside of my nose in any way, shape, or form. I would have to say, if any smell, I am getting a slight sort of sweet, slightly savory medicine grape smell. It's really mild, though. And I mean, like, that's just about it. Maybe a slight grainy scent as well. Maybe a little bit of grain in there. But yeah, really, in all honesty, the smell of this vodka is just so mild within the bottle itself that it's just really hard to tell what the actual smell of Absolut vodka actually is. I will admit, it's just that mild, which I think is probably a good thing for vodka. Yeah, overall, I gotta admit, very mild smell. If anything, a little bit of a great medicine smell with a little bit of a sort of grain, I imagine, wheat-like smell underneath. Really not too much else going on. And that's very much what the smell of Absolut vodka I'm getting is in the bottle itself. Let's go ahead and get my glass I have with me today all out, and let's go ahead and pour some in my Copo Americano from Brazil that I have with me today. And let's go ahead and, well, smell it in the glass, I do suppose. I did have my glass. My glass is very nice and chilled, and let's hope it stays that way because I want a chilly vodka on this warm summer day, as it is, like, almost, like, It's like high 80s right now. I was about to say almost 90, but not quite. But it's like high 80s. It's warm, it's humid, and I need some cold drink, whether it's alcohol or not. Let me tell y'all what. Let's go ahead and pour some vodka in my glass, y'all. And I think I'm gonna pour a little bit more than that. Yeah, that should probably do. That should probably do for my first drink of the video. So let's go ahead and put that down real quick. And before I take a sip, let's go ahead and grab myself a little bit of a thumbnail. You know, get a little bit of a thumbnail, you know what I'm saying? Had to do it. Well, let's go and put the bottle down before I drop it, because that is a heavy bottle, if I do say so myself. And let's go ahead and get comfy, and let's go ahead and give this a little bit of a smell. And I would have to say, in the glass, yes, it is a little bit more pronounced. The smell of the Absolut vodka is a little bit more pronounced than it is in the glass. It's a little bit more pronounced than it is in the bottle, to say what I want to say correctly. But it's still an extremely mild scent, and really what I'm getting is what I already described. It's an extremely mild, sort of slightly grape medicine with an undertone of a sort of, I would say, very slight sort of grain-like flavor in my personal opinion. That's very much what the flavor I'm getting is actually like. I do suppose, without further ado, it's time for me to go ahead and take my first ever straight sip of Absolut vodka. How will it be? What will it be like? What will I think of it? Will it taste good? Will it be smooth? Well, there's only one way to find out, and that's to take a sip of this stuff right here. So without further ado, let's go ahead and do just that. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Right off the bat, I haven't drank straight liquor in a minute, I will acknowledge. It's been over a week since the last time I drank straight liquor. So burn is definitely there. There's definitely a burn, I can say that for sure. But the flavor, while there is a little bit of that sort of medicine grape in there, in my opinion, it's not insane. And I would have to say a more intense flavor is that of a sort of grain-like flavor. Like a smooth, grain-like flavor. I'm trying to think how to describe it, though. How would I describe the flavor of this beverage? How would I describe the flavor of this drink right here? I would say it has a creamy, almost sort of buttery flavor to it. Interestingly enough, kind of thing. Now, I'm pretty sure this is my first ever time drinking a wheat vodka. I don't believe I've ever drank a wheat vodka before. I have had potato vodka. I have had rice vodka. I didn't really like the potato vodka. That was Tito's. Didn't really like that. Need to try a different potato vodka, though, to see how that is, see if it's any better than Tito's. I really enjoyed the Haku vodka I had, which is the rice vodka. Never had a wheat vodka, but it's odd because this kind of reminds me more of, like, the flavor of it reminds me more of, like, a whiskey than anything else. Like genuinely, this flavor reminds me more of whiskey than anything else because it has almost sort of a grain, sort of buttery, creamy flavor to it, which is really not what I was expecting at all. I was really expecting, just based off the smell, a sort of, frankly put, just like very light, mild medicine grape flavor with maybe a little bit of grain in the undertone kind of thing. And don't get me wrong, there is a little bit of that sort of medicine grape in there, but it's super mild. It's almost unnoticeable when you're actually sipping and with the aftertaste. Now, don't get me wrong, if I was shotting this, I do think I would notice that flavor a lot more prominently, but I'm taking very small sips to really try to determine what the true flavor is actually like. And when doing that, not only is this vodka honestly impressively smooth, the burn is very minor. The burn is really not much. I mean, like, granted, I'm used to sipping, like, let's say, like, I would have to say stuff that's like 10% more intense than this, 10% more alcohol than this. Like, the last whiskey I sipped on was like 101 proof, 50.5% ABV kind of thing. That's the Wild Turkey 101. That's the last whiskey I sipped on. So that stuff's a little bit rough, a little bit more rough when compared to this. It is like 10.5% stronger after all. This is smooth. This is smooth. Like, I don't know if it's just because it's been so long since I had Tito's, because I swore off Tito's forever. Because I hate Tito's. I will continue the Tito's hate. I strongly dislike Tito's. But I remember like drinking Tito's and being like, man, this stuff sucks. Not only is it rough, but it tastes like medicine. There's no other flavor going on. It sucks to mix, and I hate it as a whole. That was my general impression of Tito's, I will admit. This is far superior than Tito's. It actually has a flavor profile. It's actually smooth to sip on, and it's just nice. No, Absolut vodka. While I doubt it's the best vodka ever, and while I can say it is not the absolute best vodka ever, I was just thinking, and I was trying to remember if this is actually the first wheat vodka I've ever had, and actually it's not, because I have had a sip of Grey Goose before. I haven't done a review of Grey Goose before. However, I have had a sip of it before, in fact, just about a month or two ago now. And Grey Goose, I gotta admit, it was so smooth, and the flavor was just like so mild, but it was just like really high quality stuff kind of thing. I'm not gonna put Absolut on the same level as Grey Goose, quality-wise, by any means kind of thing. But I would have to say, like, if Grey Goose is number one, we got Haku Vodka at number two, then we're looking at Absolut, and then way down here, like below even where the camera can see, that's Tito's kind of thing. So I would have to say Absolut, as far as the vodka that I've tried in the past goes, it's my number three, just in regards to quality and smoothness and flavor profile. To drink straight at least. It is worth mentioning. But yeah, the burn that's there, don't get me wrong, there's definitely a burn. It's definitely there. But it goes away pretty quickly. It doesn't overwhelm you as long as you take small sips. And overall, the flavor that comes with the burn kind of outweighs the burn, honestly. The flavor is just really nice. Now, I'm going to take a couple sips, really just trying to think what the flavor is actually like. I don't have that much left of my drink. I can always pour more if I need to, but if I can figure out what the flavor is like based off of the rest of this, I will. But what's the flavor of the Absolut vodka like? Let's find out. Yeah, I would have to say the flavor of the Absolut vodka is that of a savory, slightly sweet, buttery, creamy, I would say wheat-like flavor, like a very grain sort of wheat-like flavor, I would say, with an undertone of just the tiniest bit of like grape, like just like grape medicine, just a little bit of grape medicine. Not much though, really not much, just a little bit. Yeah, overall, I gotta admit, pretty pleasant stuff in all honesty. That's kind of what the flavor is like. I'm gonna take another sip or two, see if there's anything else that I'm not noticing. There very well may be. I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, overall, I would have to say this is not the smoothest vodka I've ever drank. I would have to say Grey Goose is definitely smoother, and the Haku vodka is smoother as well. But the roughness of this is not too much by any means, and the flavor, it's really interesting. It's really, really, really interesting. And it reminds me less of other vodkas and more of whiskey kind of thing. It really comes across as a very oddly whiskey-like flavor which is pretty interesting and is very much not at all what I was expecting. Frankly put, I was really not expecting a sort of wheat-like, almost reminiscent of whiskey-like flavor, but that is somehow very much what I've gotten from the Absolut vodka that I'm drinking today. Very, very, very interesting, if I do say so myself. A little bit rough on that last sip. I definitely noticed a little bit of a grape sort of medicine flavor on that last sip as well. I would have to say the overall flavor of the Absolut vodka, it's that of a, I would say, what am I thinking? I would say the flavor of it is that of a, I'm just gonna kind of give myself a moment to orient my thoughts just a little bit, because I wanna get the orientation of my thoughts right when it comes to the flavor of what I'm drinking today. What am I thinking when it comes to flavor of what I'm having? There's definitely a sort of wheat-like flavor, a sort of grainy wheat-like flavor. There's definitely a sort of buttery, creamy flavor to it. But then there's also that medicine grape flavor as well. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I'm missing, but I really can't think of anything. I might pour myself just a little bit more. And have one of these from a fresh pack while sipping on just a little bit more kind of thing, because I don't know, is there anything else going on? On one hand, I feel like there is. On the other hand, I'm not so sure, in all honesty. But either way, I want one of these, so I'm gonna use this as an excuse to have one of these and to drink more, because of course I want to drink more alcohol. Of course I do. I mean, like, who doesn't, right? If you can drink more alcohol, why not drink more alcohol? Now, that's what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying, and that's exactly what I am going to do. There's a new spot I thought I would try out. The bugs have been really bad in my local area these days, so I'm trying to avoid sitting in the middle of a field. And I'm kind of right on the edge of like a gravel path, so the bugs are a lot easier to deal with here. There's still some gnats because I'm kind of next to some bushes and stuff and everything like that kind of thing, but there's no mosquitoes over here due to the hotness of the path and whatnot kind of thing. So I chose this as a new spot to try to record in, and I really like this spot. This is great. I have really only gotten harassed by bugs like once during this video today, which has been amazing. Compared to like yesterday, I was like walking around the park and getting harassed when I'm moving, which is crazy kind of thing. The bugs in my local area right now are pretty bad, but I chose this spot because I didn't think there were going to be a lot of bugs, and I was right about that, but I didn't realize how many people were going to be walking by. So I don't know if I'm going to be filming in this spot again. I do try not to record my alcohol videos like right next to where people walk by, generally speaking, but hey, you know, only the biggest baller moves here, you know what I'm saying? Only the biggest baller moves here. Definitely, though, I think part of the reason why the Absolut vodka was so smooth when I poured my first glass was because it was cold. While I didn't have my Absolut vodka in the freezer or the refrigerator before this video, I did have it in a cooler with a cool pack. So it wasn't like the coldest it could be, but it was colder than not. And so I definitely do think if you want the smoothest experience from the Absolut vodka, you definitely got to drink it cold. Now that I have warmer vodka than not in my glass, it has gotten just a little bit rougher, although not insanely rougher by any means. As far as the flavor goes, though, it's odd because I do feel like I'm getting a sort of like this isn't flavored Absolut vodka. This is the unflavored one. But I'm getting from the roughness when I exhale and kind of in my mouth with the added roughness, I'm getting sort of a schnapps-like sort of flavor profile, like buttermint. But there's no menthol or mint in this vodka. But nonetheless, I kind of feel like I am getting some. I think that's just, what's it called? It's just like I'm imagining it kind of thing, just because the flavor is exploding in the same way as like a buttermint does kind of thing. So I'm tricking my brain into thinking that there's a little bit of mint in the Absolut vodka, but I think that's worth mentioning nonetheless, because it's sort of mint-esque, but not mint, I think is really the right way of putting it. So I would have to say the overall flavor of the Absolut vodka, in my personal opinion, is that of a savory, sweet, slightly burny, because there is a little bit of roughness in there. It's a savory, sweet, sort of, I would have to say, buttery, creamy, wheat-like grain flavor with an undertone of a mint-like flavor profile and a slight undertone of a very slight, extremely slight grape medicine kind of thing. So overall, I would have to say, like, yeah, sort of buttery, creamy, wheat-like grain flavor, a little bit of a sort of a mint-like sort of flavor profile, just without the mint, but it kind of comes across like there is mint in there for some reason. And then I would have to say, like peppermint kind of thing, like a buttermint or a peppermint. And then I would have to say, yeah, a little bit of that grape flavor underneath. So yeah, creamy butteriness, sweet creamy butteriness, grain, sort of wheat-like flavor, mint-esque sort of flavor profile and how it comes across, and how it spreads across your tongue, and a little bit of that medicine grape. And that's very much what the flavor of the Absolut vodka is like when drank straight, in my personal opinion. One thing I did forget to mention is I forgot to mention how the mouthfeel of the vodka was. And the mouthfeel was that of a extremely smooth, sort of watery mouthfeel, in my personal opinion. A little bit of stickiness to it, a little bit of a sort of sweet stickiness to it, but much more of a watery mouthfeel than not, I would definitely have to say. And that's very much what the Absolut vodka is like to drink straight. I thought this had gone out, so I was like, I should probably put it down, but it had not. It had not. Overall, what is my impression of the Absolut vodka as a vodka to drink straight? What do I think of drinking it straight, with no mixer or anything like that kind of thing? Is it solid for that purpose? I would have to say it's honestly not bad. Frankly put, it's really not bad for that purpose. I'll admit, it's not the best. I've definitely had better vodkas to drink straight before, in my personal opinion, but the Absolut vodka, really, not bad kind of thing. Not bad to drink straight. Don't get me wrong, not a huge amount of flavor profile. Definitely not the most interesting liquor to drink straight by any means, and in my personal opinion, Absolut is probably enjoyed the most when put in a mixed drink, but yeah, not bad to drink straight. I gotta admit, really not bad at all, and not something I have minded drinking straight. I've in fact enjoyed drinking it straight and enjoyed finding out what the flavor profile of it is actually like. And I think if one wants to drink it straight, even not shotting kind of thing, I think it's not bad to do kind of thing. I'll acknowledge. I am a little bit buzzed right now. I'm a little bit buzzed. I'm gonna stub what I'm holding out. Just to concentrate just a little bit, because I'm getting distracted. Just make sure I'm not causing no fires or anything like that kind of thing. But what was I saying? But yeah, no, not bad to drink straight by any means. And overall, as something to drink straight, I give it a rating of, honestly, a solid 8 out of 10. It's smooth. Well, no, I'm gonna bump it down to a 7 out of 10, because to be an 8 out of 10, I think it needs to be something with an interesting flavor profile. And while the flavor profile of the Absolut vodka is nice, I wouldn't call it the most interesting thing in the world kind of thing. There's no dynamics to it, and it doesn't develop over time kind of thing. But I would have to say a 7 out of 10, I think is definitely deserving for Absolut Vodka as something to drink straight. I would have to say Grey Goose is probably like an 8 out of 10 kind of thing. Haku Vodka is probably like another 8 out of 10, and Tito's is like a 2 out of 10 kind of thing. So Absolut Vodka is kind of hitting a nice middle point there. Overall, yeah, 7 out of 10 as something to drink straight in my personal opinion. But how will it be as a mixer? Well, let's find out, y'all. Let's find out by getting a Sprite out of my cooler. And let's go ahead and pour some drink into my glass once again. And let's, well, find out just how the Absolut Vodka is as a, well, liquor to use for mixed drinks. I think I'm going to go with a little bit more than that. Go with that amount for my mixed drink today. I think I might be able to make 2 mixed drinks. My Copo Americano is a bit smaller than that, and I have, while yes, a small can of Sprite with me today, I do think that this may be enough for 2 vodka Sprites, so we're going to be finding out whether I get 2 or just 1. But let's go and crack that open, and let's go ahead and pour just like that. And yeah, I think I'm going to get 2 drinks out of this today. And let's go ahead and smell it. Any smell of the vodka at all? Really nothing. This really just smells like Sprite. Well, without further ado, let's go ahead and find out how the Absolut Vodka is when mixed with Sprite as a mixer as a whole. Yes, sir, you know what I'm saying. And overall, I gotta admit, that is very solid if I do say so myself. Yeah, absolutely no complaints on my behalf. Just completely disappears. There is a little bit of flavor of the vodka in there. Now, don't get me wrong. You can definitely tell there's a little bit of that sort of butter flavor, a little bit of that creamy butter, sort of wheat flavor in there, in my personal opinion, I will admit. However, that sort of icky medicine grape flavor is already really mild when you're drinking the Absolut Vodka straight, and it's completely impossible to notice. It's just not there at all when you mix it with some Sprite or with any other mixer, I'd imagine, as well. And overall, yeah, no, this is quite pleasant to sip on. I gotta admit, an Absolut Vodka and Sprite is quite nice. I've tried a pre-made, and this is where I've tried a mixed drink made with Absolut Vodka before. I, while in Brazil, did have a pre-made Absolut Vodka and Sprite. It was a canned Absolut Vodka and Sprite. I enjoyed that quite a bit, and I was like, man, this is a really smooth kind of thing. Yeah, no, that was not an inaccurate experience. Absolut Vodka and Sprite really is just that smooth. Granted, I didn't really put a lot of Absolut in my mixed drink. I'll put a little bit more in my next one, I do think, but yeah, no, very solid. And I really like it for Sprite as well. I really like the Absolut Vodka for the Sprite. Because at a sip, I'm using at a glance as a phrase, but at a sip instead. At a sip, you might think it just tastes like Sprite kind of thing. But if you know what the flavor of straight Absolut Vodka tastes like, on the second sip, you're going to notice some of the Absolut Vodka flavor in there. But it's not going to come across like icky alcohol or anything like that kind of thing. It's just going to come across like there's something in there, and it's just going to taste like a little bit of creamy, buttery wheat kind of thing. And that is something that I really like. I like that the Absolut Vodka flavor shines through the mixed drink without being discernible as, oh man, that's alcohol kind of thing. That's something I actually really appreciate, and that's something I really like. I really like my gin and Sprites. Gin and Sprites are very solid in my personal opinion. And while I have always liked vodka Sprites as well, I wasn't sure if the Absolut Vodka was going to add enough to the Sprite to make it where it's a little bit more interesting. In my opinion, Sprite is kind of a boring soda to drink on its own. It's most interesting when drank with alcohol, in my personal opinion. And I wasn't sure if the Absolut Vodka was going to add enough to the Sprite to make it interesting to me. And I definitely could go for a little bit more kind of thing, I'll admit. But overall, I've got gnats swarming me. I need a little bit of a breeze. Breeze, pick up, please. Please pick up, Mr. Breeze. But overall, the Absolut Vodka has definitely made the mixed drink I had more interesting than it would have otherwise been. And it has, it's definitely made the Sprite more interesting than it would have otherwise. I'm getting buzzed. I'm getting buzzed. I'm gonna stand up real quick. And I'm just gonna finish this off before I try to talk anymore, because I am slightly buzzed right now, I'm not gonna lie, y'all. The Absolut Vodka definitely be hitting. I haven't had any alcohol in like the last 4 days or so, I'll acknowledge. So yeah, it's no surprise it's getting me a little bit buzzed. But I was about to start talking again, but then I was like, I need to finish this first. I need to finish this first because I'm letting it distract me. Like, I'm getting distracted by this because I'm enjoying this, but I'm also enjoying my drink. But then I'm like, I need to talk too, and I'm buzzed and I'm getting distracted. That's just how it be sometimes. That's just how it be sometimes. When I'm drinking and smoking and talking to friends, I'll literally just like take a hit and then I'll just forget what I was talking about. And that's kind of what's going on right now. So I'm glad I'm just kind of taking a break for a moment. Just taking a little bit of a breather and giving myself a moment before I go and mix up another drink. The breeze has really just completely gone away though. I was sitting here because there was a little bit of a breeze and I was like, man, it's really nice. There's really no bugs over here or anything like that. And there's a nice breeze kind of coming down this path, which I really like. I also love just the framing of this sort of area right here. Like, the framing in my opinion is pretty fire as well. I really like the framing. I think it just looks very pretty as well. That's another reason why I chose this spot. But there's no breeze and the bugs are starting to come at me. Thankfully, not mosquitoes. Mosquitoes are my not number one op. That would be squirrels. But mosquitoes are my solid number. No, I would have to say mosquitoes are my number one op. If I could kill all mosquitoes, I would. Just straight up. Just straight up. When there's a mosquito revolution, they're gonna use the guillotine on me. But if I could kill all mosquitoes, I would. They're heathens, and they are devils on this earth. I would have to say my number one op, mosquitoes. Number two op, wasps. Number three op, squirrels. And those are my ops. Those are my three biggest ops. And that's without even mentioning anti-smoking campaigns, and anti-alcohol campaigns, and anti-drink driving campaigns. Those are like my next three ops after the three I already mentioned. Go and stub this out though. I'm just joking about the drink driving part. Don't drink drive. Don't do that. That's unsafe for everybody, including you on the road. Don't be doing that. Don't be doing that. I'm gonna go and put this in the side of my backpack though. Don't wanna be littering, of course. And let's go and mix up my next drink. I got more Sprite. I'm gonna drink more. I wanna drink more, so I'm gonna drink more. Yes, sir. So let's drink more, baby. I'm gonna do a little bit more alcohol this time. Is that more? I think that's more. Maybe it's not, maybe it is. I'm not exactly sure. Close that up. And let's go ahead and mix in the rest of my Sprite. Well, that's probably good that that's all I added, because that's all the Sprite I have. I do not have another can of Sprite with me. I should have brought two, but I didn't. Well, let's go and take a sip and find out just how this one is as well. Definitely with this one, due to the added amount of Absolut Vodka and due to the lesser amount of Sprite, you can taste the Absolut Vodka just a little bit more intensely. And you can definitely tell with this, there is a little bit of alcohol in there, but once again, man, this stuff just disappears. Like, the alcohol sort of hit of the Absolut Vodka just completely disappears into the Sprite. I gotta be honest with you, it really does. But yet, you get some of that flavor from the Absolut Vodka, a little bit of that sort of buttery, creamy, sweet, wheat, grain-like flavor kind of thing. You get a little bit of that in there, which is very pleasant. Overall, would I have to say that Absolut Vodka is a solid mixer? I would have to say it is. Does it make Sprite interesting enough to my personal preference? Excuse me. Not quite. I prefer my gin and Sprites over my vodka and Sprites these days, I do think. However, it's definitely made Sprite a little bit more interesting than it would otherwise be, and for that, I do appreciate it. Yeah, no complaints, no complaints. Overall, solid drink if you ask me. Enjoying it without a doubt. Yes, sir, yes, sir. I just said enjoying it, but I just finished it off. That's how much I was enjoying it. Yes, sir. But, yeah, that was my second mixed drink of the video. I'm feeling buzzed. I'm feeling good. What are my final thoughts on Absolut Vodka as a mixer? Is it a good mixer? I'd have to say so. The alcoholness of it really just disappears, kind of thing. I gotta be honest with you. It really just disappears. But the flavor remains in a more lightly flavored mixer, at least I would have to say. In something like, let's say, Sprite, the flavor remains, but if I had to guess in something a little bit more intensely flavored, like, let's say, lemonade, or, like, let's say, like, trying to think of another mixer, like ginger ale, for example, maybe. I do think the mixer would absolutely overpower the flavor of the Absolut Vodka, and you would probably really get not any flavor from the Absolut Vodka at all. But with Sprite, you definitely get a little bit of that Absolut Vodka flavor, which overall, I really like, kind of thing. And overall, am I going to enjoy drinking the rest of my bottle of Absolut Vodka? You know, I'm gonna have to say I certainly am. I think I'm gonna enjoy drinking the rest of the bottle of this stuff right here. I'm going to enjoy drinking the rest of it, and while I don't think I'm gonna drink a lot more of it straight by any means, I do think I will drink more of it as a mixer, for sure. I'm definitely gonna be using it as a mixer, and I think it's gonna definitely do a pretty good job for that purpose, without a doubt. Overall, I would rate the Absolut Vodka as being a very solid 8 to 9 out of 10 as a mixer. I think a very solid 8 to 9 out of 10 as a mixer is pretty deserving for it, so that's the rating I'm gonna give it. And overall, the rating for the Absolut Vodka, just overall kind of thing, I'm gonna have to say is that of a... I'm gonna have to say it's that of a... I'm gonna have to give it an 8 out of 10 overall. 8 out of 10 overall in my personal opinion. That's kind of the rating I'm giving it overall. 8 out of 10. Combined, drinking straight, and as a mixer, it's getting an 8 out of 10. And yeah, overall, final thoughts. Would I buy a bottle of Absolut Vodka again? Yeah, I'd have to say I would. It's not the greatest vodka I've ever had. Grey Goose and Haku vodka are still better in my personal opinion, but a very solid vodka nonetheless. One I would totally buy again. One I would enjoy drinking again in the future. And do I feel like I wasted my money by any means? Not at all. Not at all. Do I feel like the Absolut Vodka is maybe priced a bit high for what it is? I think it should be a little bit more inexpensive. I think maybe right around like $16 would probably be a bit more reasonable for what it is, personally speaking. But, you know, I don't feel like I got terribly ripped off by any means. I don't feel like I got ripped off at all, in all honesty. And overall, I've got 750 milliliters of vodka to go through, and I think I'm going to enjoy drinking it. And overall, I feel like I got my money's worth. I feel like I'm going to enjoy drinking the rest of the bottle, and I'd buy another bottle of Absolut again in the future. Yeah. Kind of my final thoughts right there. Overall, good experience. Let me just put it that way. Good experience, 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10 for the Absolut Vodka Original Flavor Vodka. And yeah, I think that's just about all I had to say. Appreciate y'all watching today's video. Hope you guys have enjoyed. I have my, of course, poetry book, Poems to Read While Smoking Cigarettes, available now on Amazon for $14.99. If you guys would like to check it out, I do highly recommend you do so. Of course, make sure to go check it out. Make sure to go check it out. Link is in the description and comments down below, is what I was trying to say. But yeah, make sure to go check it out if y'all are interested, of course. And also make sure to like and subscribe, and make sure to have a great rest of y'all's day. Appreciate y'all watching today's video. I'm buzzed. I'm gonna go have a great rest of my day. And until the next one, y'all, stay safe in peace and have a great one.